Would that impact the ability to release certain files connected to that?
Former FBI Director James Comey asking a judge to dismiss federal charges in the indictment brought by U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan. She testified today the full grand jury did not see the final indictment. And another round of heavy rain targeting the West Coast starting tonight. This is ABC News. You've seen videos of passengers behaving badly on planes, and with holiday travel ramping up to record numbers, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is out with a video of his own, asking travelers to be nicer.
Ahead of this holiday travel season, Duffy says,
let's bring civility and manners back.
And he has some guiding questions for passengers.
Ask yourself, are you helping a pregnant woman put her bag in the overhead bin? Are you dressing with respect? Are you keeping control of your children? Are you saying thank you to your flight attendants and your pilots?
Because no one wants to kick off Thanksgiving by getting kicked off the plane. Clara McMichael, ABC News.
AAA says nearly 82 million will travel this Thanksgiving holiday. Among them, 6 million will fly. The head of the Louvre Museum says 100 new surveillance cameras and anti-intrusion systems will soon be installed at the Parisian landmark, all after last month's crown jewels heist. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
At Bank of America, we asked our teammates, what makes this company a great place to work?
There's very little that you can't accomplish working for Bank of America.
If you prove yourself, you can try over in a totally new way.
You can learn so much here. You're the owner of your career.
See how our teammates are growing in their careers at bankofamerica.com/great place to work. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America, proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
You deserve a chair that works as hard as you do. X-Chair. X-Chair ergonomic seating is built to move with you. DVL technology adapts to support your lumbar. SiFloat Infinite Recline lets you lean back and relax. X-Chair gives you all-day comfort and productivity. Save up to 50% during the X-Chair holiday sale. But hurry, inventory is limited. Visit xchair.com and save up to 50% today. That's xchair.com.
Dependable Lock Service is your source for replacement car keys, custom safes from Liberty Safe, and so many more lock and key services. With over 30 years of experience in lock and key industry, there's nothing Dependable Lock Service can't do for you. Whether you're looking for duplicate automotive chip keys, rekeying commercial and residential locks, or custom safe building, we've got you covered. Call 603-886-0559. Nashua's Dependable Lock Services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
The sky's not the limit, it's just the beginning. I'm Ed Mullen from Nashua Aerial Advertising. There's no better way to advertise your business and or message than high in the sky. How can you make your advertising budget work for you? By putting your ads up where they'll stand out. The sky is an uncluttered, impressive venue. You can put your message over a region or location to target your desired demographic. Put your ads where they're needed. We provide coverage over communities through Merrimack Valley, Greater Nashua, Manchester, Lowell, and points throughout South Central New Hampshire and North Central Mass. Summertime beaches, sporting events, races, fairs, and festivals are all ready-made for banner telling. For more information, please visit us online at NashuaAerialAdvertising.com. And remember, the sky's not the limit, it's just the beginning.
NASCAR. It's more than just driving fast and turning left. Bob Bianchi and myself, Bob Bartis, are credential-carrying members of the NASCAR media. Each week, our live 2-hour broadcast breaks down everything happening in the world of NASCAR. We recap the prior week's race results, preview the upcoming races, and discuss the NASCAR news. If you like racing or fast cars, join us live in the showroom at Allen Mello Dodge every Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. or listen, stream, and watch at wsmn.live.
Hello. As the holidays approach, we at the Nashua Community Music School want to give thanks to our friends and supporters. Together, we are dedicated to serving our community through music. As we approach this giving season, consider visiting our website, nashuacms.org, or following us on Facebook and Instagram at NashuaCMS to check out all of the amazing businesses and individuals who support us. Want to reach out and see how we can make innovative music accessible to everyone? Give us a call at 603-881-7030 to see how you can help put the community in the Nashua Community Music School.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to the Common Sense Conservatives, a political discussion group about current events and other government-related matters every Wednesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on WSMN 1590 AM, WSMN 95.3 FM, and streaming live on wsmn.live. Making sense of the inverted reality we are subject to every day, the Common Sense Conservatives are here to help bring you back to reality. Now, your hosts, Chris Wyatt, Todd McKinley, and John.
Hey, folks, welcome back to the program. John, I'm going to have to take a look at what's going on with the restream there. It didn't start on my channel again tonight. That's the second time in about a month and a half. Not sure.
I
set it up.
have no idea what goes on with that.
Nor do I. And once the stream is live, you can't do anything about it. So we'll miss my audience tonight. So sorry about that. But yeah, for some reason, it didn't launch. I set it up.
Okay.
Anyway.
Wow.
All right. Well, welcome back to the program, folks. It is Wednesday, the 19th of November, 2025. Joined by my co-host in the studio, John Groves. And we're up there in Nashua, New Hampshire at the studios of WSMN in Nashua, New Hampshire. And in East Tennessee, it's Todd McKinley who's joining us. He's got the Clooney look going tonight with that 3-day-old not shaven there.
That's it, right? I'm trying to get like you, Colonel.
Oh, you got a little ways to go to get there.
Right,
You got. I look a little more like Grizzly Adams than you do.
Grizzly Adams did have a beard, by the way.
I think Todd makes it about 5 days, and he can't escape the razor.
Yeah. A couple of days I shave it off. Yeah.
Well, I told my audience today that I can't afford razors. The price went up so much to the Biden regime that they're just too expensive. That's why I don't cut my beard.
Right? It's out of necessity, not protest, right?
Exactly. Well, folks, tonight we have a guest on, Ryan Rhodes, a congressional candidate from Iowa. We'll get him on here in just a few minutes, from the Iowa's 4th District, which includes Story County, the home of Iowa State University. Go Cyclones, which is apropos that I have tonight's lead because I'm a former resident of Ames, Iowa. Lived out there. I taught at Iowa State University a few years back, and so I know the area quite well. You know, guys, I got to tell you, Todd, I told people when I lived in Iowa that they could save an awful lot of money on automobiles. Cars would be cheaper in Iowa if they just did one thing. Simply don't install turn indicators, because I was the only person in the state that ever used my turn signal.
Right.
I thought that was only Florida, man.
Okay, well, Florida too. We can save a lot of money. If people do not use their turn signal in Iowa, they just turn their car. It's crazy. I don't know if maybe Ryan can confirm that or not. That's not why we're asking him to come on here a little bit, but maybe he can confirm that tonight, having living there in Ames. He's a resident of Ames as well. So it's been a crazy week as always. Before we get to our guest, just very quickly, John, for 4 years, the Democrats had an opportunity to release the Epstein files. Not a single document was released, and nobody lost their minds. No uproar, no screaming, no kicking, no wailing, no claims of anything. Now, if the Democrats had something on Donald Trump that was a smoking gun from the so-called Epstein files, which, by the way, 4 times this year the Trump administration has released those files, if they had a smoking gun after trying to assassinate him twice, after fictitious trials for non-existent crimes, after 2 fake impeachments the first time, do you think, John, that they might have pulled that smoking gun out during the campaign to crush his campaign? And at a minimum, the October surprise, right?
They would. They would, man. I mean, God, that'd have been perfect for them. Harris would be our president right about now, as far as they're concerned. Yeah, they would have used it at all means.
But the funny thing is this: they keep attacking Trump for not releasing it, saying he's in it. Well, of course he's mentioned. He's a prominent person who knew Epstein, who cut ties with him. Epstein was bent out of shape and wanted to get even with Trump. And so he mentions him all the time in messages, but that doesn't mean he committed any crime.
Right.
The Democrats are now scrambling because their names are coming up. Larry Summers, the former president of Harvard, has resigned from OpenAI over his entanglements that have been exposed now. Of course, he's known he's been entangled for years. These slimy, slippery little demon rats are being exposed, and this is what they wanted. They wanted, Trump is hiding something. Trump played this like a fiddle, man. He's like a maestro. He played this thing out. Now we've gotten through the elections, and now he's brought it out at the right time. What do you think about that, Todd?
I think you're probably spot on. If there was something in there, he would have, he would have been brought out at this point. And now all of a sudden, all these messages and text messages back and forth, give me some information. I'm up next for questioning, and all this stuff. It's like, who's in cahoots with this guy? Well, after the fact, after he was a convicted pedophile and already went to prison in Florida. And you're sitting there wanting to get information from him. You want to help him, ask him to help you donate money to your campaigns, whatever, your PACs. Dangerous people. These are the people that need to be investigated.
Absolutely. It's crazy. I see that I was able to actually change it. They've updated the site now. So my audience, hopefully they'll join us here. It just went live on my channel. I don't know what happened there. For some reason it got toggled off, but it's on now. I was actually on Twitter though. So surprise, surprise. Wasn't expecting that.
All right. Is there a guest standing by there, John?
Do we
he
have
is here. Anytime you guys are ready, I can bring him in.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and bring our guest in here, Ryan Rhodes, candidate for Iowa's 4th Congressional District. Ryan, are you a Cyclone, or are you one of those guys that went to Iowa and now lives in Ames?
No, I went to Iowa State. That's kind of how Ames became my home, because I grew up outside of Iowa City and Cedar Rapids. And when I went to college, my parents up and left to be to my dad's parents before they passed.
Okay, so
it kind of became my home.
Okay, so Ames is your home, and you went to ISU then. Okay, excellent. Yep. I didn't check. When did you graduate from ISU?
So 2008 is when I finished up.
No, I'm too old. You couldn't have been one of my students. I left there in 97.
Went for turf grass management for golf courses.
Oh, you wouldn't have been one of my students then. No, I left in 1999. I was sent to Iowa, or to Italy. Excuse me, another I went to Italy. So Ryan, you've decided to run for the for that 4th congressional seat, which of course includes Story County, right in the middle of the state. It's Western Iowa, but it has a finger that kind of goes over right into the center. And of course, right below you is Polk County. That's Des Moines. And so there are 2 different congressional districts. I see that you're a staunch conservative. We got a lot to talk about in this hour. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started here. I tend to steal all the oxygen as far as asking questions to the guest, but I think that's by design. Todd and John just sort of push it my way all the time.
Right.
So I'll just go and get us started. So Ryan, I see that you have never held office, but you're not exactly a political neophyte. I noticed that you were the founder of the Tea Party in Iowa, if I'm not mistaken, and also you worked on Ben Carson's presidential campaign, and you also worked for Michelle Bachmann on her campaign. So you have background in politics. You understand it.
Yeah. I've been in and around. That's actually how me and Todd met. We did advanced work for the White House under the Trump administration.
Right.
So lots of trips and a lot of fun there. The Tea Party's kind of where I just couldn't keep myself away from politics. After actually I did run once in the worst possible district, the worst year, 2008, during the Obama wave, in like a plus. I didn't think about it at the time. It was a plus 28 Democrat district, but we put up a heck of a fight, and they had to spend a lot of money they didn't want to spend in a race they shouldn't have had to spend it in.
Well, we appreciate that, both Todd and I, about picking the wrong race. It's both of us have run for a state legislature, and it didn't go so well for us. But it's politics is a bizarre game. So anyway, so you're running this time, and I understand it's because in part it looks like the current representative who's been there for a few years is going to run for governor. That's is it free? What's his friend?
Randy Feenstra. Yeah. He is officially announced for governor. So that created an open primary in this race. And I really felt called to join. And I think we need, in conservative districts, we need strong conservative fighters, because too often we get in these districts and we get really, quite frankly, a lot of weak people who aren't pushing the Overton window our way, who aren't fighting the left the way. When you have a left district, you get AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Ilhan Omar, and I just think we've got to have our own people, hopefully smarter than that and more articulate, but fighting nonetheless for our conservative values.
Well, before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about the Tea Party and what you got you into this. I mean, the fact that you were associated with the Tea Party and a founder there in the great state of Iowa, would it be obvious to indicate that you care about small government, restrained spending, fiscal responsibility, Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, national defense? Those are core values, I would imagine, for you. Yeah. So there you go. So what got you into this? I mean, the Tea Party is now, it's been a while ago, about 15, 16 years that this thing kicked off. Maybe 17, the antecedent origins of it. What got you into it? Was there something driving, something that didn't seem right to you that got you involved in the Tea Party movement?
Well, I really just more and more saw things in our country going a really wrong direction. I saw what Barack Obama was doing, and honestly, I didn't see a lot of other people standing up. There was a lot of people that came out for the Tea Party, but I didn't see enough people going out there and fighting and able to kind of corral people and do that. So it was really fun to be able to get out there with the Tea Party and so many more people willing to want to come out and help. But really, it's, from there and never really stopping being involved. It just kind of was like, once you do a thing and you do it pretty well. They keep asking you to do something else. And then, I had a passion to get out, fix the country. And I think we've got a long way to go, but if we don't fight, then there's nothing left.
Well, the Tea Party movement was a fascinating thing. Of course, I was serving active duty at the time, and Todd was as well, if I'm not mistaken. We're both serving active duty. And so our ability to speak politically, especially for me as commission officer, was really limited. I really just couldn't step out on a branch there. But I observed it, and of course, tended to vote for the Tea Party candidates that ran in my state, which is in Ohio. But the Tea Party is a group that was targeted by the Obama administration. And we see now how the Biden regime colluded, coerced, and cajoled tech companies to violate the First Amendment, acting as agents of the government to silence our speech. I was a victim of it. It hurt me on social media, and many other people were. But the antecedent roots of what we're seeing there actually came the Obama administration when they targeted the Tea Party groups. In fact, Lois Lerner is infamous now for what I believe were crimes that she committed in denying tax-exempt status to these groups because they opposed Barack Obama. And what was that like? Did you guys face any of that in the Iowa Tea Party?
We were on the forefront kind of all of that. And what was interesting is we didn't really have the help there on any of this stuff that people now, it was really, a lot of this stuff was really new. There wasn't the same networks out there. And in a large kinds of things, credit what James O'Keefe is doing, credit what Charlie Kirk is doing, or has done and everything else. You've started getting a momentum built out there on these things where you have someplace to go to get help. Back, you were pretty much on an island trying to fight, and a lot of people like, oh, if something happened, if you're being shut down, there was a lot more trust in the government going, oh, it must be somebody must have done something wrong. And I didn't just deal with it there. We dealt with it as well with Parler and what was going on as we tried to bring Parler back online. It got deplatformed, platformed and taken offline as well. So, all across the board, there was really an onslaught by agencies that were they're supposed to be letting people have fair play and protecting the American public, and the going and attacking it.
Well, the reason I build that background is so people get a better appreciation of where you're coming from, who you are, and what your values are. I mean, if you're a Tea Party person or supporter, then you're in good company here in this crowd with our audience. Yeah. But it also raised a question about, should you be elected to office? Is this something you'll focus on? Because quite frankly, I want arrest warrants for Biden administration officials, White House officials, National Institutes of Health, the CDC, all these clowns who silenced our speech in violation of the First Amendment. I'm not trying to put you in a corner here, but I mean, if you go to Washington, and if you say you're going to do this, I'm going to keep an eye on you, because I'll come down and say, hey, I want you to push justice. I want these people arrested and charged.
Well, there has to be consequences to this kind of thing. You can't essentially use the federal government to try to overthrow or stop a sitting president, another candidate for against your opponent in the way they've done, and they did it with absolute impunity. I had friends, as I know Todd knows them as well. Friends get subpoenaed, and they were scaring. They were violating all the norms. They were not even going direct through lawyers. The amount of due process that they violated, and the fact is they didn't even care about the truth. Over and over and over, they were out there saying, oh, it doesn't matter, just say this. All right. So it didn't matter. They just wanted to go and hang Trump up and get their scalp. And it's really impressive how many people stood and had the president's back to keep this from happening, because they didn't care about the truth. And it's not cheap to go fight these things. This was people hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some people, it cost their house. Some people some people did fold into their their plot, and others, thank goodness, Trump actually was able to pay for their legal fees through campaign and everything. But it was the onslaught is so far beyond what the public has even seen at this point.
No, it absolutely is. And this is the true measure of what needs to be addressed here by Congress. And there's an effort now to kind of push this stuff aside by some members in Congress, particularly rhinos and the Democrats. But this is something that really needs attention. The most fundamental of our rights that are natural human rights were violated by the government, the federal government, and state governments. You know, in Alabama, they had a Christian church service in a drive-in movie theater. The cars were a blank space between them. The windows were rolled up. They were using the speakers. The preacher wasn't even present. He was at a different location broadcasting. It was going on the screen. And the sheriff showed up and threatened arrest for everybody who was attending church. Meanwhile, in New York City, they closed down all Christian churches, all synagogues, but every mosque remained open. There's no 14th Amendment equal protection under the law that took place here. The crimes committed against the American people during COVID and prior to that, ever since Obama, with the exception of the brief period that Trump was in office before, are epic. And quite frankly, this talk about political retribution is not political retribution. These people violated the Constitution, not even laws, but the Constitution, our most basic law. And quite frankly, it's someone needs to speak out on people's behalf, because I'm not seeing it in Congress right now. I don't see any warrants, no grand jury subpoenas for anybody in the Biden regime who violated our First Amendment rights. It's pretty scary.
Well, look, consequences for action, for egregious violations and action, is not political retribution. And unfortunately, we do have a lot of people who like to grandstand but not start doing things. What happened during COVID was absolutely insane. It said a lot about our country too, because when you are closing churches and opening bars and strip clubs, you have the wrong priorities, and we need to get back to that moral foundation as a country where our rights come from God, not government, as Schumer wants to say. And that's really why they thought the government had the ability to just rip them out of people.
So your campaign, I see, at least at the moment, unless it's changed, the Ballotpedia has 3 other Republicans running in this race. Now, Iowa's first in the nation with the caucuses. Is it a caucus that you'll go to decide this, or is it a primary that they do?
No, the caucus is solely for the presidential cycle. We only do that. The rest of the time we are on our normal schedule. So it's very busy. It's June 2nd next year. This one's busier than it's ever been in Iowa. There are 2 open House races. There's an open Senate race and an open governor's race, and we've never had those kind of the deck this much in Iowa on one singular election cycle.
I'm shocked to hear that the governor's race is open. Isn't Terry Branstad serving his 55th term?
No, he just had his birthday.
What is he, 90 now?
No, so, but no, the Kim was there. He went to be Trump's ambassador to China, and because Kim was there, but he was the longest serving governor in America. Yeah, governor for life.
He did pretty well, but I mean, he had that job for a long time. He left and came back too. But anyway, so let's get back to your campaign. How is your campaign going? And do you see any challenges, because you're in Story, and much of your district, you got to go out to the north, to the northwest, and then down kind of the southwest. It's geographically, I think it's the biggest district in Iowa.
It's over the state, so geographically it blows all the other districts out of the water. I spent 8 hours in the car doing 2 events on Monday. I spent hours in the car yesterday doing an event, getting up to an event, and I'll be in the car. Today was more of a phone call and getting working day, and yet tomorrow got some trips around parts of the state as well. So it is a lot of stuff, of things. I joke because Northwest Iowa is the bastion of conservatism up there in Sioux in that area. I joke that I'm the most conservative candidate from the most liberal part of the district, which is just really accurate as you get out here. And so I think the nice part is I have gotten around those since Ben Carson, state director, did some events here for Trump, the Iowa Tea Party. I was going around to all those parts of the state, so I'm familiar with a lot of folks up in Sioux County, Sioux City, Sioux City are different. We like to do that in the state of Iowa, put a town and a county in a different area. But with the name, but those are there, and it's fun to get out and around. Not quite so fun when it's raining, driving when it's raining, but otherwise it's good, and it's going well.
And what are you getting? Is your message resonating? I mean, it's conservative area, but are you? I mean, what is your challenge over your other opponents in the primary? I mean, I imagine they all probably have similar conservative values. If not, they're not going to win.
I think the difference in what I've said is there's a lot of people. I definitely came out with a little bit more forceful rhetoric because I think we're run. I don't need to be congressman men if just for the title, but we are in a time where these guys that are going along to get along, the people who don't what time it is and are just doing it for their name because they really want to be congressman or that has to be the next thing. I just don't think they're going to go out there and fight. I think they're going to get in there along. That's the difference. Don't think but the guys. I just think that the difference is whether or not you want somebody out there fighting, somebody that's going to go to bat for the people, is going to pay lip service to conservatism.
Well, I think it's a great point, and I would agree with you. When I ran for the state legislature last year, because there was a vacant seat and people asked me to run for it, I said, the challenge with the state legislature, but also with DC, which is where you're trying to head to, is that many of these people are there for self-aggrandizement, self-enrichment, or craven political power. They're not there for the people. They're not for the Constitution. And Todd and I know we spent each and every day of our life in uniform supporting, defending the Constitution. We don't support the Fuhrer. There's no leader oath in this country. We support and defend the Constitution. So I think that your message would resonate with us. But unfortunately, Todd is in Tennessee and John is in Nashua and I'm in New Hampshire and I'm in Pennsylvania. So we can't vote for you. Now, if you were in Chicago, we could all vote for you. So, I'm just saying, but, you're not in Chicago.
Your dead relatives.
Exactly. It's, that actually happens. My stepfather voted in 4 elections in Ohio. My mother found out before she passed away. He cast about 4 times and he'd been dead for a dozen years. So that's pretty scary in Ohio. But Iowa is a very, generally speaking, conservative state. You've got outliers. You've got Iowa City. You've got Ames. You've got Des Moines. But beyond that, it's like red everywhere. It's very conservative, very, very interesting. Now, when I lived in Iowa, there was a challenge. They created the Iowa. That's the network there. There was the digital network they created. Can't think of it right now, but Iowa created back in the 1990s. It's brilliant. They wired the entire state with fiber optics so that the ICN, the Iowa Community Network or something like that. Anyway, I forget what it's called, but they were forward thinking, and they did that because they saw that the population was aging, and a lot of youngsters were leaving farms in rural areas and going to Minneapolis and to Des Moines and to St. Louis and Chicago, places like that, not coming back. Is this still a challenge for Iowans? I mean, aging population. Is there any issue or concerns about depopulation?
There's been a challenge really in rural Iowa in basically a lot of the town really getting the help. There's in terms of what's going there. So that's a big issue on the how are we going to bring jobs, grow the economy, and help rural Iowa as to where the cities tend to always get all of the funds going to. And whatnot, but there's a few things like that. I think it's a matter of help instead of just giving people hands out as well. I'd like to see things like rural 527s where people, instead of just being for education, you could go and have a 5 for like starting a job, starting a company, whether or welding or something like that, where you need to have some funds that people to as you're starting your company or getting up on a leg up. The other thing is I think we need to extend the opportunity zones into rural Iowa, where some towns give somebody else a reason to go back and do more investment there instead of just focusing on these cities.
Well, that's exactly what I was hoping to go that direction. Yeah, it's the Iowa Communications Network. I think they might call it the Iowa Community Network at one time, which is forward thinking. They built this back in the early 1990s, before the internet really was coming online. Most people didn't know about it. Very forward thinking. My experience in Iowa is that leaders looked ahead, very far ahead, and I hope that's still the case. But and this effort here. So let's say you win the election, you win the primary. You win the primary, I mean, you pretty darn good chance you're going to win the general election. The same thing here in my district because it's solid conservative. But you get to DC. What's the first thing you want to do in DC? I mean, there's so much that needs to be addressed.
That it's funny on that question. There's a million and one things. I think one, I do think actually in terms of directly for Iowa, those things that can help rural Iowa that I mentioned, trying to expand that, because I think those are quick things that can potentially be done that will have a lot of help there. I also believe that we have got to go and we have to fight this scourge of transgenderism and what they're doing to our children across the board. That has to be codified. That needs to be stopped from here and further. I know we dance around the edges with it, but we need to make sure that that is 100%, just not there going forward, because what they're doing is really, really dangerous for generations and generations to come. So those are a number of the things I'd like to do. Get the Doge, talk to them about making sure these Doge cuts are permanent and then some.
Well, next year is kind of a big deal. You're running in a year for the 250th anniversary of the United States. And I'll read just a moment from the second paragraph of that declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute new government, laying its foundations in such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. And it goes on from there. But it's kind of a big deal. You are going to Washington, D.C., if you win this race, in the year, well, you'll actually arrive in 77, but you'll be running for office in the 250th anniversary of America. Has that sunk in? Have you thought about that? I mean, what an epic time. Plus, it'll be the last 2 years of Trump administration when you get there.
Yep. Well, I guess, I the 250 in the context of I went to Trump rally in Iowa. So I was there for the America 250 celebration then. Excited about that stuff. It's awesome to see what they're doing and all of the events they've got going on. But I guess I hadn't really thought about it directly in relation to that's the year that I'm running in. But I think if we want to have 250 more years, that we are going to have to really, I think the best years can be ahead of us, but I do think that we have got to get this under control or they won't be.
Well, and you come from fine tradition of Iowans who stood up for this union. In Marietta, Georgia, which I've gone down to before, you find a Civil War cemetery, and there's a monument to the Iowans who perished there fighting battles. You're trying to preserve the union. It's a long history of the Iowans who've made a big difference here. The Civil War, all over Iowans fought. It really made a major impact here. And I don't think a lot of people even realize that Iowa was a state back then. And I don't think people realize that you actually get people from Iowa coming out. But going to D.C. In the last 2 years of the Trump administration, have you thought about that? Because that seat's going to be critically important because there's a chance that the lunatics will win in the asylum, and we might lose a majority in the House. Although I don't think it's going to happen, but a lot of the media are trying to portray this as the Republicans are going to lose next year, the majority, and that could put you in the minority and make it challenging.
Well, I think it's all the more to have strong people who are going to back the president, back this agenda, and help him finish his year term, and then hopefully lay the groundwork so that we can hold in 2028 as well. Because I do think it's very, very, very important to be able to get out there and be strong so that we can get another 4 years to really solidify a lot of what's going on. I do think we have great people there. There could be J.D. Vance, very, very much so, and we're going to need folks that are actually going to hold that line so that they can't come in and tear out everything that's been done. So that I think would be very exciting to be there for that time, and as we're going into things, and all the more reason you're going to need somebody that's really ready to go and understands what we're up against.
Well, I appreciate that. That's why I was asking the question. It's going to be a consequential time in our history, and that's why it's important to have strong voices. But I also appreciate that it would be interesting and exciting to be there for those last 2 years of Trump's his time in office. When I retired from the Army in 2019, it was just in time. If it had been another year later, I would have had Joe Biden's auto pen signature on my retirement letter. But instead, I have a Trump signature on my retirement letter. So thank goodness for that. So speaking of lighthearted moments, let's change it up a little bit. While you were waiting in the background, were you able to hear our commentary at the start of the show?
I heard some. I don't.
Okay. Sure. Well, I just want to ask this question. I mean, can I get you to introduce, get someone in the state legislature, if you get elected, introduce a bill to remove turn signals from cars in Iowa, just to say,
I did.
Because I was the only person in the state to use my turn signal.
I will will neither confirm or deny if I'm good at using a turn signal, but but I definitely do know that there, especially when you drive around the roads, you still going, man, there's a lot of bad drivers in different places. You got to be alert. Somebody almost head on me the at about 12:15 coming home. So I mean, whether it's turns or anything else, we might have some driving coaching to do. I think about the truckers actually the more I drive, like, man, these truckers deal with this across the country every day.
Right.
Maniacs on the road. But no, I mean, outside of the turn signals, I do think there's a lot better drivers in Iowa than there are in Washington, D.C.
Well,
I
I think that's fair too. That's because the problem with DC is people are transplants. A lot of them come from places they're not accustomed to weather, not accustomed to conditions. But no, I just a lighthearted moment. I thought I'd ask a question. But I mean, it's crazy because most of the roads are just straight in Iowa and they're pretty flat in a lot of places. So no, it's one of the biggest challenges I had. Went to Minneapolis and was coming back and in a whiteout, trying to find the interstate back down towards Ames, and it's difficult. They got the snow markers out, but the snow just kept coming down. It's pretty crazy stuff. So that presents another question here. Iowa is one of these places that has some weather challenges, and of course the lunatics and the climate zealots who have their faith and religion, they are trying to affect legislation, and that stuff comes up a lot. Is that something you thought about here? There's green energy and and the carbon and all this other stuff that they're always pushing.
Look, I think they're gonna see a turn where I think they're losing a little ground right now on a lot of this, because I just saw an article that they're talking about, well, the climate change and the global warming could lead us into a new ice age. Wait, I thought everything was gonna get too hot, And I think that the more people talk about it, and you even see on podcasts and everything else, people go, wait a minute, I don't know if this Greta Thunberg and all this other quite going to do it. Now, I don't think they're going to stop pushing it on us, because a lot of this is coming from foreign countries that are trying to get us to deplete ourselves so that they can run up and others. But yeah, I would very much stance the climate hysteria going out there, and I think we're also going to have to look at stuff and talk about how we shouldn't, in some cases, be tinkering with our own weather.
Yeah, well, I think that's a topic that definitely we'll save that one for another day. Take our own weather,
Yeah.
but no, you have a very valid point there. The whole purpose of the Paris Climate Accord was to bankrupt Europe and the United States and Japan. That's really the whole purpose of it, and just redistribute wealth to people around the world, because that's what it essentially does. Meanwhile, China builds 350 coal-fired power plants every year, which is more than we even have in this country, and nary a word is said about it. But let me shift here to some of the I think are key issues for you based on what I've seen from your literature and your website. Second Amendment. But one that got my attention here, because this changed things in Virginia a couple of years ago, and this is when the tide began to turn against woke and DEI. It started in Virginia when Glenn Youngkin ran for governor, and that girl was raped in a school, and the school board covered it up, and they had a transgender female, which is a biological male, raped a girl in the bathroom, and that changed the whole tune. So this issue of transgender women competing in sports, this is a big issue. Is it a problem in Iowa, or I say problem? Is it a challenge in Iowa that's come up? Because it certainly is an issue in many parts of the country.
Well, one, I am actually also proud to say I was part of the group that helped expose that stuff. We worked with the guys on the ground, and then 1776 Action with Ben Carson as well, as Vince Haley and those guys we helped get that info with the guys on the ground and really blow it up so that became a big issue in this. And in Iowa, it is. You see it. We may not have quite as big of a story as that particular one coming out, but we see it over and over where they continue trying to put stuff in the schools. They're really trying after the school boards. So some of the stuff is out there. It just some of it hasn't been fully exposed yet. I do think has done a good job in moving back and fighting against a lot of this nonsense, but they're never stop. I mean, that's kind of why we said Make America Iowa, is if we aren't proactive, they will be. So if we can't just sit and wait for defense, right? We're not going to play a prevent defense anymore, because that's not getting us anywhere. We have to be proactive in stopping this and pushing and making sure it can't come here and it gets torn out of places all over the country.
Well, Ryan, we're talking about some issues for Iowa specifically, which obviously be interest to Iowans, but of course you'll be representing the state and also to a same degree the nation as a whole. You would vote in the House of Representatives, represent the nation. So obviously you have some experience. You've talked about you're involved in that and some other things. But what's this Save Our Bacon Act thing? Is a California thing? Tell us a little bit about that. That's because that's something. It sounds like you might be able to get some federal legislation stop.
Well, yeah, they've sent that actually was some good legislation that was gone through that was sponsored by folks in Iowa that promoted happened all over as you see this left and right. So California so big. This happened with cars as well that drove the price up, right? California and New York
emissions.
They get so big that they go, we're just going to enact laws on the state level and everybody else is going to have to go and deal with them. And so California has used that a lot. Well, what California did was they used California Prop 12, okay, and they went out there and they really just were trying to use Prop 12 to tell basically Iowa we're going to do their agriculture culture. And so it's the things where it's not just the moral issues, it's not just those, it's every single issue that they are trying to push their agenda on us. And as we've seen, there's a whole lot good left in California. You got Newsom. You can't win at the top of the governor's race, but they want to their liberalism down the throats of every single state in America. And so that's really about getting out there and saying, I don't love to do federal legislation to control a state, but you can't allow them to push that across the country because they are using their state to force themselves on us.
No, it's crazy what happens. And of course, we live in a union of sovereign states, but there's the primacy clause in the Constitution, which says certain things are the primacy of the federal government, immigration being one of them. I want to get that in a second here. But, just to mention, a situation similar here in Pennsylvania, we pay higher electricity rates to subsidize the Northeast. They've shut down their power plants, and then we generate the power here. And we as Pennsylvanians get punished for their consumption. We pay extra taxes for carbon under the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, RGGI, which is a scam. And so we're paying probably about 3 or 4 or 5 cents more per kilowatt hour than we should be paying because we're subsidizing Connecticut's and Massachusetts, gosh forbid, and New Yorkers who are using our electricity, and we're the ones paying the price. It's horrific there. But let me shift to the immigration thing here, because that's a big issue. That's a big reason why Trump became president. And a lot of people always like to contort things and take the Statue of Liberty in New York, which was a gift of friendship between the French people and America. It wasn't an immigration thing. And some leftists put a poem there, and they put it, "Give me your tired, give me your poor." No, give me your talented, give me your brightest and brightest. That's what we really want. But Canada does that, and they get all the credit. They only let the doctors and lawyers and dentists and agronomists come in the country. They tell all the poor people have no skills not come in. But in America, we've had a very strange immigration policy, and we've had policies that are bankrupt to let millions of people flood in this country. In fact, wasn't it in Iowa just where someone was elected mayor? They're a criminal alien invader. They're not even a citizen. I think it was in Iowa, or maybe it was Colorado. It just happened this in November.
So that was not in Iowa, but in Iowa, we had our school board superintendent who was a non-citizen, who lied on all those forms, really had a whole litany of problems there, and was in our country illegally. And so I don't know how they got through the background check. Almost the more you got into it, there's people getting up there defending him. The more you got into it, the more you found out his resume was a lie, basically, from start A to B, A to Z. And the other thing I think too about this immigration, the Statue of Liberty thing, they also said those longing to be free. Unfortunately, what we have are classes that are not longing to be free anymore. We have people coming from all over the world, Somalia, and these different that are coming, and they're trying to take over, and they're trying to get the handouts. What we see in Minneapolis and what we're seeing in New York with Mamdani is really dangerous, and that's just not a culture that support and maintain our free society. The immigration is a problem that it has to be solved from a budgetary issue. It has to be solved from a cultural issue, and really, unless we get ourselves around that and start changing. Changing what the way that beyond what Trump's doing that's so good and continuing it, we're that's absolutely paramount to us fixing this country.
Well, Ryan, the initial charge we'll hear, of course, is the idiotic racist comment. And, we're also talking about white people. I don't want all these Ukrainians in my neighborhood either. They're white Christians. But you'll hear the racist comment, but then you also hear xenophobic. But the reality is this. If I were to take 1 million Iowans and dump them in Tunisia, in Tunis, people would be a little upset. And what are all these Catholics and Protestants doing here, building their churches in our Muslim society? There is a reasonable amount of immigration. There's a reasonable absorptive capacity. But we see places like Springfield, Ohio, just flooded with 20,000 Haitians in a city that was 60,000. Now it's 80,000. They're a strain on services. It's unfair. And how many Springfielders asked for them to come there? Now, I'm not sure what's going on in Iowa, but I'll tell you, last time I was in Iowa, it was 97% Anglo-Saxon. It's as about a white bread as you can get. But I see that there are also immigrants coming in. And I'm not against immigrants, but this has to be a thing that can be managed.
Look at things, and the left wants to make this a racial issue, and it's not, okay? You have to have a functional society. You have to have people incorporating together. We're seeing all kinds of problems in Europe because they're letting just mass migration go. When people come here and want to be free, want to be Americans, learn our language, and become productive members of society, that's an entirely different. I think that was a lot of old immigration. We don't have that right now. Right now, we're getting an influx of being dumped out of jails and other things, and they're giving them passes to go here. That has been stopped under the Trump administration, but we've still had that issue on these things where you have liberal attorneys coaching people that everybody's a refugee, right? We had a guy arrested in Council Bluffs in this district, right? He was a murderer in Guatemala and a member of the cartel. And he came here and he'd been hiding there, having been a most wanted, and he was under refugee status. That's the type of stuff that has to be stopped. And we have to do a lot better job of making sure we know who is and who isn't coming into our country, especially in this.
100% of it. Hey, Todd, it's ironic that Ryan mentions that this guy was registered as a refugee in the country when all the leftists screaming bloody murder over the South Africans coming over here saying they're not vetted. They're actually getting the most intense vetting you can imagine. Trust me, I know, because people will write back to me from South Africa like, I didn't know they knew this about me. I told you. The only people vetted more deeply than refugees coming to America are military personnel for security clearances. Ryan, I told you I could steal all the oxygen in the room. I'm going to turn over to Todd here as we get late in the hour. And I'm sure he's got some questions built up. If not, he'll punt to John, but it's Todd's turn.
Right. There we go. Yeah. He took up a lot of the oxygen there. No problem there. I'm a little under the weather, so it just helped me out. But Ryan, to say you're
under the weather, I'll just take the mic back. No.
To say you have my endorsement and the show's endorsement, I mean, it goes without saying for sure. But folks, we're talking to Ryan Rhodes. He's a candidate for Congress, Iowa's 4th district. Go to Rhodes for Iowa, RHODES for Iowa.com. Check out his website. There you can donate to his page, volunteer for the campaign, etc. But Ryan, really want to ask you, what's the pathway forward from right now to June? What's victory look for you? I mean, how are you going to win this thing?
Well, one, it's what I've been doing, getting in all 36 counties in the district, talking to people, getting and spreading that message, because they're looking for a fighter. They're excited to have somebody actually stand up and fight for them, and I see that. And I also see that there's folks who, like I said, they want someone who's going to be both a fighter and someone who's going to protect agriculture and rural America and actually bring a voice to that. And I actually think fighting on the other issues helps you be able to rural Iowa as well, because you have a larger voice instead of just being in a corner silent. The other thing is fundraising. We've got a big scissors and things, especially as it gets into the start of the year next year, going into Christmas, everybody's getting, I think they have a little downtime from some of this as well, but got a lot of it we're going to be rolling out, and I'm very excited about that. We have some big ones coming very, very soon, and so it's really just, it's the nuts and bolts and getting out and doing the job of being vetted by every single one I can get in front of in the district.
There you go. And of course, you talked about endorsements, and of course, big ones. I don't know if you're alluding to somebody or not, but we'll just leave it at that. Hopefully so. Some big endorsements. I don't know if that's the one you're talking about. Well, we'll see, right?
I would love that. I would love that.
But yeah, some good endorsements. So you're the right candidate for the job for sure. What are some things that you think you're going to face during this campaign? Some adversity from some of the other candidates that are running. What are some issues that they may try to throw at you to have it stick?
I think a lot of it is going to be there's different money and money factors and other things. It's I don't know that we're gonna if it gets nasty, I'll deal with that as it comes. I don't know that we're necessarily going to get nasty.
Okay.
I think there's defining lines on individuals without having to attack immigration. For myself, I think immigration is one of those things that is a dividing line between where we're going to be on some of those issues, or maybe how hard line would it be. I'd be more of a Stephen Miller. So it might be a lot softer, closer to Lindsey Graham. So I think there's those defining lines, but more or less, it's also just really doing the job to get out in front of the voters and talk to them that I am going to be able to carry their voice better to Washington, D.C. Is it politics? Attacks come. I'm sure there'll be something, but right now, we're able to get up there, shake each other's hands, and let people know there's going to be a difference.
There you go. Yeah, and obviously you have connections in Washington D.C. Obviously throughout Iowa and the whole country, and of course that's going to help you in a lot of ways. And talking about your opponents, if you will, the connections, they probably don't have the same connections as you. How's that going to play into your hands, and how's that going to benefit the residents and voters of your district?
Well, I think it'll benefit the voters a lot, because there's a lot of staff out there a lot of staff that control things that
Right.
people don't realize, and honestly probably control more than they should.
Yes.
Quite frankly. But I know a lot of those staffers. I know a lot of those types of people that I can work with, because I know which ones are good and which ones are fighting to agenda. You see a lot of that behind the scenes. So I walk in with a lot of that knowledge, I think, where I can go, I know they got bad tensions. I know that person's on my team. And a lot of that, COVID, because you saw who the fighters were out there when you were out time and everything. You saw who the fighters were and who the rollover people were. And that is a defining aspect.
Right, absolutely. Well, you mentioned truck driving a minute ago. I'm going to turn it over to John Grosvenor, who's a professional truck driver, by the way. So he may have a couple of truck driving questions for you.
Hey, Ryan. No, actually, I was going to ask you about our national deficit. I mean, we're running $38 trillion right now, and that's a path of destruction for any good country, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So if the people of Iowa were good enough to vote you into office, what do you make of that? Do you think it's manageable? Do you think we can actually manage this debt and start to get buy out of it, or what are we going to do about that?
I think I see some glimmers of hope. The fact that the Republicans not just give $2 trillion that the government was shut down, wants the government shut down just to shut it down. But the fact that they held the line on nearly $2 trillion of funding that would have taken it from 38 to 40 right there, right? Like overnight. Okay. The fact that they were willing to do that and hold the line, I think shows glimmers of hope. The fact that people need to once again keep telling, getting out there and saying, hey, this Doge stuff, remember this, start cutting, cut. There's a lot of that we can start heading in the right direction. The other thing is we have to start a movement that's not, and start talking about this. It's not even just that the budget over every year. Why don't we freeze the budget? Like if we just froze the budget and let ourselves grow out of it, you would start changing the deficit discussion. The idea that there's automatic raises, that we're automatically owing these extra things, okay, along that thing. I think that's really a problem, because when you're giving the fat cat, the folks in the government, all of the automatic growth, okay, but then the people aren't seeing that in their book as well. All they're seeing is the inflation hit them. Then I think that's that's one way. It was talked a lot before, years ago, like Lean Six Sigma and incorporating that to the government. There's just no way you can tell me the federal government is 90% even efficient. So where can those 10 or 15% efficiencies come to reduce these things? Maybe it's getting all non-citizens off of the government dole. Maybe getting, taking the federal government, the Department of Defense, and going, okay, well, that needs to get leaned up a little bit. We need to be a little bit smarter there. I don't think that there is any area that should be a sacred cow that where we can't start making efficiencies before we just start automatically. If we just do that, we're going to start in the right direction, and then, hopefully start running heavily in the right direction as we grow the country.
Absolutely. So, cutting spending is imperative, definitely, and I think the second stage of that would probably be economic growth. And so, how do you feel about the Federal Reserve? And do you think they affect our ability to grow economically, or are they hindering us?
Well, look, I think we're seeing this constantly. Like they're talking about Trump, and now all of a sudden the left decides the economy's bad, but it's better than the day he took office. Okay, he's working in the right direction on some of these things. But when the Federal Reserve is out, Powell is strangleholding these things. Okay, Trump is trying to put Trump in a box, really, so that he can essentially manipulate what's going on and how things are going in our economy. And I think we have to look at that, and we have to stop this ability for them to have so much control and decide what to manipulate, because they are manipulating elections.
I think you're right on that. Digital currency. Do you think digital currency is going to be a path out of this? Do you already think it's going to benefit us, or do you think it's just more of a novelty?
Well, I don't want the U.S. taking over our digital currency. Not like I want us to be a champion of that the crypto and the digital asset type of stuff. I don't want it all of a sudden to get constricted by the federal government and all of a sudden completely just make another area for monstrosity, for manipulation and everything else. But yeah, I do believe that new era can come through. Is it going to automatically overnight grow ourselves out? No, but I think get the budget under control and then use that together. They can help grow ourselves out of it in the long term.
Yeah. We're using a lot of technologies to grow economically. Do you think this economic boom is going to be a trend for the future that's going to bring up our economic standing?
Yeah, I think it can be, as long as Trump is in there, and as long as we have maybe J.D. Vance on the next time and things like that. I think it will, but it can become a real problem if this falls if we don't get some control on this and some guardrails, and it falls back into the hands of somebody like, Kamala might have almost been the least of our worries as we bring up with Mamdani, AOC, and these other people. I think letting that stuff fall in control of their hands could be very, very detrimental, and they would probably work to turn it against us. So we need to put guardrails in there all growing in exciting fashion.
That's probably the boldest statement right there. People need to be careful who they elect. They need to elect the right people. We got a few seconds left here. Would you like to give your website address and stuff so people know where to find you?
Yep, it's rhodesforiowa.com, RODES FOR Iowa.com, and it's Rhodes for Iowa on Facebook as well.
Awesome, Ryan.
Thank you,
Chris. You got the lead, bud.
Well, there you go. So, Ryan, thanks a lot for coming out tonight. Really appreciate you being here. It was fantastic to hear your views. And thanks a lot for what you did with the Tea Party. It was a movement that was crushed by the powers that be. But we see the roots of it in the MAGA movement out there.
I think so.
All right, folks, we'll be back next hour. There's Ryan Rhodes running for a 4th Congressional District of the great state of Iowa. We'll see you in the next hour after news. Thanks a lot, Ryan. Cheers.
WSMN 1590. WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at wsmn.live.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. The White House now in possession of the bill passed by Congress to compel the Justice Department to release the Epstein files, say two senior Republican aides. This is today. Attorney General Pam Bondi says the DOJ now has new information on the Epstein files.
There's new information, additional information. And again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads. If there are any victims, we encourage all victims to come forward. And we will continue to provide maximum transparency under the law.
President Trump's hand-picked U.S. Attorney Lindsey Halligan revealing to a judge the full grand jury never saw the indictment against former FBI Director James Comey. Comey's lawyers asking the whole case be thrown out. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro says he's open a dialogue with President Trump. This amid a U.S. military buildup in the region and as Trump continues to weigh whether to strike targets inside of Venezuela. This is ABC News. A Chicago woman wants answers from Franciscan Health in Crown Point, Indiana, after she says she was discharged from the hospital while still in active labor and forced to deliver her baby on the highway minutes later.
I was stripped of my dignity as a person because I was treated less than an animal.
Mercedes Wells says the nurse sent her home without ever seeing a doctor. She claims discrimination and wants the nurse to be fired. Investigators in at least 3 states say they found By Heart infant formula still on store shelves weeks after a recall over potentially deadly botulism cases in babies. At least 31 babies in 15 states who drank the formula have been hospitalized. No deaths have been reported. Target is hinting that its holiday season might be more subdued as the retailer reports a drop in third quarter profits. The stock has lost nearly 35% of its value so far this year. Target sales were hurting from high inflation and tariffs before the shutdown delayed federal pay and delayed food stamps. Dave Packer, ABC News.
A stiff chair makes you sit. An X chair lets you float. Upgrade to an X chair, engineered for better posture and focus. The secret? Patented lumbar support that adjusts instantly. SiFloat Infinite Recline that moves effortlessly with you. X chair is next level ergonomic seating that truly floats. Right now, you can save up to 50% with the X chair holiday sale. Supplies are limited, so visit xchair.com today for up to 50% off. That's xchair.com.
At Bank of America, we asked our people, how do you take ownership of your career?
I'm able to grow my way by putting the priorities that I have for my career first.
I thrive on being a leader who's behind the team, not in front of the team.
Every few years, I'm being re-energized because I get to do something different and learn something new.
See how our teammates are growing in their careers at bankofamerica.com/great place to work. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America, proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
The only thing we have to fear is one small step for man.
And the Boston Red Sox.
This is WSMN's Life for Today for November 19th. Happening on this day in 1863, President Abraham Lincoln delivers the Gettysburg Address. And in 1959, Ford Motor Company cancels the unpopular Edsel. Born on this day in 1831, the 20th President James Garfield. And in 1933, Larry King. Dying on this day in 2017, Charles Manson at 83. And in 2023, First Lady Rosalind Carter. She was 96. And finally, on this day, in 1966, the Supremes' You Keep Me Hanging On hits #1 for the first of 2 weeks. And that's WSMN's Life for Today for November 19th. I'm Bill Kincaid.
You just keep me hanging on. Ooh, now you don't.
Hi, Nashua. I'm Perry Cataldo from Choice Benefit Services, your local insurance agent that has dedicated himself to all the Medicare plans in New Hampshire. Whether you're just turning 65, new to Medicare, or already have a plan, I'll explain all your Medicare options and extra benefits that you hear so much about. I ensure you're getting all you're entitled to and all that you deserve. Nashua, don't get fooled again this year. Call Perry Cataldo at 603-461-5550. That's 603-461-5550. Or visit me online at cbsnh.com. That's cbsnh.com. I look forward to hearing from you. And remember, health is wealth.
Continuing the legacy started in 1904, Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument Incorporated continues to provide the same high-quality monument, custom headstone, and stoneworking craftsmanship today that they built their reputation on over 100 years ago, servicing Nashua, New Hampshire, as well as nearby areas in Massachusetts, such as Lowell, Billerica, Chelmsford, and beyond. From creating custom monuments to memorialize, to landscaping and granite work or restorative services, each job is done to your satisfaction and is backed by decades of experience and integrity. If you're thinking about stonework, think Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument. Visit online at gatecitymonument.com. Stop by and meet Roger at 321 West Hollis Street in Nashua, or call 603-883-7141. That's 603-883-7141. Gate City Monument, memorials of distinction for people who care.
Oh, I got nervous there for a second there, John. I thought we weren't going to get that Gate City Monument ad. I love that one.
Oh, you always got to get that one in there.
Yeah, we got to get Roger on here one day. Seriously, we have to do that. I'll have a beer or something at a local bar or something like that. We get up that way to Nashua. So, guys, Epstein. We're still talking about Epstein. 4 years we didn't talk about Epstein. Nobody wanted to know about Epstein. Democrats didn't want to hear anything. But then when Trump got in office, they want this big distraction Epstein. So now Trump came out and just kind of shocked them all. Well, hey, vote for it. Release it. 427 people in the House, 1 opposed. And unanimous in the Senate. I can't recall the last time anything was unanimous in the Senate. So what's going on there, John?
Which one opposed?
There was I know
Louisiana. Yeah.
The most guilty party, huh?
Yeah, I think he opposed on principle.
Yeah, there was some reason why I can't remember, but yeah, a principled stand. He
had friends been to the island.
Yeah, this guy would not have been. He was a former sheriff down there.
Yeah, no, it's not a question of him being involved. I mean, first off, how silly would you look if you were involved and you voted against it when 427 people voted for it? So it's got nothing to do with that. No, it's it also had this situation where Hakeem Jeffries is in trouble now. 23 Democrats defected. He told them to not vote to censure this representative who just kind of like what happened here in Pennsylvania in my race, where they tried to jerry-rig this situation. In this case, a representative who's leaving office filed to run again, knowing he wasn't going to run for office as Democrat, waited until his chief of staff went and literally the last minute filed the paperwork, had it ready, and then as soon as that person was on the ballot for the primary, withdrew from the race so that there's no primary competition. It's just underhand and dirty. It's what both parties do. And so remember, the Democratic, give her credit, Democratic member of the House stood up and said, this is wrong. And maybe she's grandstanding. I don't know. It was an easy victory, but
it is wrong, though. I mean,
but it is. But who knows? This could be politics. Someone's like, here's a chance for me to shine and get attention. But whatever the case is, the Republicans and 23 Democrats voted to, censure this guy, and he deserved it. But I mean, it's no skin off his nose. He's going to get a big retirement check and free medical care at our expense, and his little slimy chief of staff now get to run in a competitive district. So hopefully, voters will see this and vote against this clown and vote for the Republican.
Right. That's the hope there. And of course, any Republican does it, and it's happened before. I mean, Republicans have done it as well. I mean, district representatives or chiefs of staff run for these seats, and the member waits until like the last minute to announce anything. And of course, by that point, who can pick up a petition to run in time to put together a campaign that's worth anything.
Yep. And that's the bottom line with what's going on here. It's just, it's dirty and underhand. It's anti-democratic and it's intentional. They do this because they can get away with it. Well, we got one thing going on here at Epstein, but I think the more interesting conversation now is somebody that's been off the reservation for a while. And finally, people are noticing, including Trump, called her a traitor. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the bomb thrower herself. Now she admits, because the leftist press are fawning all over her. Well, I was wrong at throwing those grenades into enclosed spaces before. Pull the pin, toss a grenade, a political grenade. She is now, I was wrong. We should have civil discourse. Really? After you've been, pulling out a flamethrower for the last several years since you got to Congress. But there's a little dispute in the MAGA crowd, and Trump says she's a traitor. Any thoughts on that one, Todd?
Well, it's kind of funny that, she was all MAGA, and then of course Trump was all about her, and until the craziness that is Marjorie Taylor Greene goes against Trump, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, we need her outside the camp. She can't be inside anymore. I'm like, I'm sorry, you open yourself up to this crazy. I mean, you invited her in by endorsing her first to start off with.
John, thoughts?
Marjorie Taylor Greene was Trump's biggest advocate, biggest
Right.
supporter, and biggest defender. For all, even before he run for office again, and even announced, she was out there defending the man. Yeah, I think Trump kind of needs to cool it down a little bit sometimes, keep the stuff behind the closed doors, but that's not Trump's style. We all know it.
Right.
If you go against Trump, he's going to get you. It was
He make you
DeSantis
pay.
during the election, and once you remember, he was the sanctimonious.
Little
And suddenly when
Marco,
he dropped
Lion
out,
Ted.
yeah, and suddenly when he dropped out of the race, it's like, oh, me and Ron are friends again. It's all cool. So I imagine, things will simmer down here between him and Marjorie Taylor Greene. But sometimes I don't know why he does this. He does it with Rand Paul. Right now he's trying to derail Rand Paul. He's trying to derail Thomas Massey for their up and coming. I don't know if Rand Paul's up and coming, but I know Massey is. So I don't know. He does this stuff, but it's just within his character, I guess.
So I warned the politicians in South Africa, and I practically begged them not to be confrontational with Trump. The thing about Trump is that if you insult or come after Trump, it's game over.
Yep.
I mean,
it's game on. He lays it on thick and heavy.
I know, but it's game over for you. He's not going to lose.
Yeah.
So when you come after Trump like this, I mean, look, he's won millions of dollars from CBS. Now he's going to sue BBC for the fraud they committed. The list goes on and on. And if you call Trump names and you go after him on a personal level, he's not going to take it well. And he's got the resources to keep coming after you. So it's just not a winning argument. I don't know what her beef was, but look, I mean, we can all have issues. I have issues with some of the stuff. President Trump came out and said that we need H-1B visa holders because Americans don't have skills. Excuse me? No, I think the problem is Oracle and Microsoft and all these clowns and Google are laying off American tech workers from six-figure jobs to hire
Right.
Indians to replace them at $90,000 a year. It's not that we don't have the skills. It's that we're being moved out and we're being colonized by foreign workers because it's convenient for these cheap employers who, by the way, companies like Microsoft, 65% margins. What are they doing? Outsourcing people from India when we have people in America. We have the workers. We have the skills in most of these fields. We don't need all these H-1B. They're supposed to be, here's a good example why you actually need it. We have 3 icebreakers. We just commissioned 2. We only had 1 for decades, and the thing was built 60 years ago. So now we have 3. We're going to build 11 more icebreakers. 7 will be built in America. 4 will be built in Finland. But the Finnish shipyard is going to send their technical workers to America to train the Americans in the specialized skills it takes to build icebreakers because we haven't done it in decades. And so we've lost the skills. Now that's an example, but we don't need coders in California. We have hundreds of thousands of coders in this country are the most talented people on the planet. I mean, we invented the internet. We invented the gaming industry. We invented AI, and we're eating the world's lunch when it comes to AI right now. So Trump saying that really torqued off a lot of conservatives,
right,
and a lot of patriots, me being one of them. That's one thing. So that's that. Then we've also got this situation now where he says to Trump that tariffs are necessary, and then suddenly, because the media claim that prices have gone up, he eliminates the tariffs on a host of agricultural products. Well, one of the reasons why we pay so much for beef in this country is because the green lunatics and their climate zealotry have caused us to lose herds of cattle in this country. The number of cattle held in this country is at a historic low in the past century right now because of Bill Gates and Ted Turner and others buying up millions of acres of land, which used to be grazing land out in the middle, in the Midwest and in the mountain states, and no longer the case. And we've shut down the stockyards all over the country. And as a consequence, we're not producing enough beef, among other things. And so we import it. We should be importing beef. We're the world's best agricultural nation. We should be exporting beef. But because of the cow flatulence and the grass consumption, it's just ludicrous. So we don't need that. We don't need those tariffs to take away. I'm not a protectionist, but the tariffs are serving a purpose. And it seems to be a mixed message from the president now. As soon as you get a little bit of pressure, you're going to let it go. Also, a lot of Americans are frustrated, not so much about the Epstein files, but about the fact that there are no indictments against these criminals in the Biden regime who censored us, who shut this country down, who forced us, to do things we weren't allowed to do, was in violation of the Constitution. So a lot of conservatives are in the MAGA movement are upset with President Trump, but we're not throwing our toys out of the pram. We're not throwing our toys out of the crib, just like Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing. If you got a dispute, it's unseemly. Take it behind the scenes. To me, and John, I get your point about she's the biggest supporter, but no, I think that's not true. I think this fake news. I think Todd McKinley is Donald Trump's biggest supporter. I'm just saying.
He's the biggest silent supporter. He doesn't.
Okay. All right. Yeah. He doesn't pull the pin of grenades and throw it into a room. Marjorie does. But look, This is something she should have done behind closed doors. It makes me beg the question: is she just looking for attention because
she's running next year, and she may be putting that out there that hey, you know, my constituents want to see the Epstein's files out there. Trump did do an about face, guys. Come on.
He did do
he
that.
did
That's
do
true.
that.
Okay,
I don't know if he had
okay.
an agenda behind it, and this just worked itself out.
See, I'm not going to buy the about face. That's what the mainstream media are telling you. Why have you released
We
the
watched
files?
it happen, Chris. Wasn't listening to mainstream media, brother. I'm telling you.
4 times this year they've released the Epstein documents. How many more tranches? The people didn't get what they wanted, so they're upset. Second time, third time, fourth time, 4 times this year. Why is this so important? And we're going to find out it's not important. It's certainly not for the Trump administration. And I don't really care about this. I mean, 4 times he's released it. Nothing's ever enough. But no one screamed for 4 years when nothing was released. This is why. I mean, the New York Times is
they were waiting for Trump to get into office for it to be released. However, Biden did release some documents when he was in office there, and it got more redacted when Bondi went in. When she released, that's the same items, but she redacted more of it.
Yeah, well, the way that they released it to all those social media influencers, that first wave or whatever, and then they stopped talking about it after that. I think that done them a disservice for sure, because they didn't release anything really after that.
People want justice with this, and this is human trafficking and stuff. This isn't something.
I want justice for our speech being, removed. I can't fix the sufferings of people.
I want justice for that too. I want justice for that too. I want justice for a lot of things.
That's something to be upset about. That affected all Americans, and it changed the history of this nation. What happened to these young adults and children that happened supposedly in Epstein Island is a tragedy. But he's dead. They can only go after his estate, and they can punish the people that are supposedly involved.
Going after a state, people want perpetrators. There are other people out there.
There are statute of limitations to these crimes, and most of those statutes have expired now. So I'm not really sure what people are hoping to accomplish with this. I want people charged with crimes who committed it under the statute of limitations before it expire. We can't go after Hillary Clinton for a theft of classified information, for misuse of top secret Senate Department information, because they let the statute of limitations expire. These crimes need to be addressed.
What's the statute of limitations for human trafficking?
Well, you'd have to cite the statute. You'd have to cite the statute. There are multiple different things that come for that.
There's users, there's people that use it. There's a crime there, and then there's people who are actually trafficking. That's a crime.
Yeah, but if you do release it, and let's say they say John Grosvenor was involved, and it's like if there's statute of limitations involved here, they can't really come after you. But now they've tarnished you as a perpetrator, but you can't have your day in court though.
Correct.
But it also puts a spotlight on this person, because people are creatures of habit. And if they were doing it then, they're probably still doing it, thinking they're gods and they can get away with it.
I can understand, but if you have reasonable doubt, you should investigate them, or arrest them, try to convict them, which that didn't happen here, which is kind of sad in my book.
But we're not overlooking your point, Chris, because you got a good point about other crimes that have been committed against people in this country.
Oh, absolutely.
Violating our rights and taking away our free speech was heinous. And I think Biden's head should roll for that. I don't think there should be a statute of limitations. There probably is, but there shouldn't be for crimes like that.
So the problem with I lost viewers on my channel. I really don't care they're obsessed with this sort of thing. The problem with this is that lots of people went to Epstein's Island. Rich people, connected people, because they went to meet other rich, connected people. They didn't go to diddle little girls.
Yeah.
Some of them obviously apparently did, according to what the testimony they have. But the problem is that, just the mere name of your mention of your name being in there doesn't mean you did anything wrong or you observed anything.
Right.
I seriously doubt that Stephen Hawking was diddling little girls. The guy was paralyzed.
Right.
He used the voice machine. Stephen Hawking went to Epstein Island.
It was a pleasure island, not just for that pleasure.
It was just like all these different, elite clubs and such. It was a way for the wealthy and connected to stay connected, to seek privilege, to get deals between each other.
Without having the public right next to you, wanting to do photos, talk to you, pitch you ideas and all that. Yeah, I can understand that for sure.
Hang out.
Yeah, that's how this
That's
how this all started, and that's how Trump is wrapped up in it, because rich people move in circles, and
that's true.
What it was. But then Trump found out this guy was a scumbag, and he cut him off. 2007, 18 years ago.
Right.
And so, look, this is not going to go anywhere. The Democrats who are going to be exposed in this will resign. They won't be prosecuted, and nothing will come of it. In the meantime, the statute of limitations is ticking for the people that violated our constitutional rights. They crippled this republic. We're lucky we have a republic. We almost didn't have it. People, can you believe that idiot Kamala Harris got 40% of the vote It's insane.
Dangerous. Yeah.
Anyway,
dangerous for sure.
People don't think when they vote.
Well, that's true.
But what is up with Hillary and Bill Clinton now? They're gonna thumb their nose to Congress. Are they going to be contempt of Congress? What's going on?
Yeah, I find him contempt. He's already been contempt of Congress. He's already committed perjury against Congress. But let's go ahead. They refused to show up for their deposition, so I think they're in contempt of Congress. Hold him in contempt. He's not the president.
Right, that's true. But it's not going to happen. That's never going to happen. They'll never see the inside of a courtroom for sure. Not one day.
No. Not going to happen. They'll never be held accountable for Whitewater, for Vince Foster, for Monica Lewinsky, for selling our stealth technology to the Chinese communists who funded their campaign. Yeah, no one is upset about that. The Chinese Communist Party funded Bill Clinton's 96 reelection campaign. We have the receipts. It was proven. Yeah. He got reelected. People knew about it. It's insane.
Yep. And I don't understand people in this country that can overlook things like that. Like, it doesn't matter. He's doing a good job, just because you got the nice new F-150, you got a little bit of money in your pocket, doesn't mean he's doing a good job.
I think he had a benefit of a growing economy, and that
really he did in a big way.
President, and a lot of people didn't realize it was the politically right that was doing a lot of that.
Well, it was
a combination of things.
Basically 12 years of where Reagan, Bush, and a lot of other things that pushes communism fail. We weren't spending all that money on all these different defense projects, so we could shift it in different directions. I think was a part of it.
So there's three major events that contributed to the wave that Bill Clinton caught. The first was the Federal Reserve colluded with the Bush administration and then later with the administration to lower interest rates to a very low level to free up capital so people could borrow. The second was that in the late 1980s, early 1990s, many large corporations in America were fat at the executive level. They were accustomed to having lots of salesmen. IBM had like 300,000 salesmen. They all made like six figures back then, and it was a big bill. And Eastman Kodak had tons of people at that level, 3M. And what happened is that we had a white-collar recession starting around 1990 when the price of oil spiked from $9 a barrel to $43 overnight with Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait. Now, the price came back down within a few weeks, but the damage was done. The world was teetering on a global recession. That pushed the world in recession. And technically, the United States went in recession in 1990 and 91 for 2 quarters of zero or negative growth. That is the definition of recession. After 2 quarters, we came out of it. We had anemic growth, very slow growth, but we were no longer in a recession technically. And unfortunately, because George Bush didn't run a real campaign and didn't pick James Baker to be his campaign manager until 3 weeks before the election, he was destined to lose that election. Right. So we've got the interest rates being artificially low. We've got the corporations trimming the fat and becoming profitable, which gave them money to invest their business, expand their business, advertising, new factories, yada, 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 and grow and make their offerings more available for things in the service industry. Those two things. And then the final thing that no one ever thinks about and gives credit for that pushed us, propelled our economy to create 18 million jobs in those Clinton years was the birth of the modern internet in 1994 with the first graphical-based browser.
Right. It was a big.
Well, the dot-com boom came on the heels of that, but Mark Anderson and a team at the University of Illinois at Carbondale released Mosaic, the first graphics-based browser using, where you could just click instead of typing in the text. That started the internet revolution in 1994, which fostered trillions of dollars in economic growth. All of that benefited Clinton, and people thought the economy was good. It wasn't because of Clinton. It was because the interest rates were low. The American corporations trimmed all the fat that they were wasting on employees that they were paying they didn't need to. And the third thing is this explosive growth. And that led to efficiencies, economies of scale. Look at Amazon now. You can buy virtually anything on Amazon. If it isn't from Amazon, third-party sellers join Amazon's site. Amazon makes as much or more money not selling things, but providing cloud services, storing websites like Parler and other places. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Amazon now is one of the world's largest delivery services. Now competes with UPS and FedEx because the Amazon trucks are everywhere. As a consequences. So that's just one example. And then you take all these other companies like IFC, and you've got Oracle and Microsoft and Google that didn't exist. This whole thing, we have an ecosphere, an environment in the business world now that was created as a consequence of the 1990s. And Bill Clinton had zero to do with it. Al Gore did not invent the internet, had nothing to do with it. He profited from riding the wave of events that unfold around him. Those three things: interest rates, trimming the fat in businesses, and then the internet revolution. That is why our economy grew. Nothing to do with it. But the other thing added to it, a smaller issue, is we reformed welfare with Newt Gingrich pushing the Republicans, and they got Clinton to sign that. But I mean, that had an impact. But we still wind up spending a god awful amount of money in deficit spending. And oh, by the way, people say they balance the budget. We never balance the budget.
No.
That's a fiction. We never balance the budget. The money that they claim balance the budget, they stole $360 billion from Social Security Trust Fund, which there's no trust in, there's no fund, there's nothing in it except IOUs, digital IOUs. They took $360 billion, and then they claimed that the federal government had $167 billion surplus in the year 2000, the last year that Clinton was in office. It's fiction. You don't take money out of your checking account and spend it and then put some at your savings account and say, see, look, I saved money. You didn't save money. You didn't save money. You spent the money that came in. If they had left the $300 billion into the Social Security account, then they would have been a deficit still of $100+ billion because they didn't have the money. So that's why Clinton had the success, and that's why people look back on him fondly. But he's a reprobate. He's an evil, nasty SO. Well, I won't say it. We'll stop at SO. But you get my point. So that's why Clinton was so big and famous. But instead, a lot of the roots of our discontent now and eventually the financial crisis of 2008 were created then. Were created during the Clinton years. The things were put in place in the government that created the situation that led to the financial crisis in 2008, 2009. And because of that, that begat what we have now. And we still have a mess. And the rest of it is cowards in D.C. So hopefully if Ryan gets there, he can be one of the strong voices, stand up for what's right, moral, and just. There you have it, John.
There we go.
Yeah, and we can't keep creating failing social programs that we have to keep deficit spending to keep solvent. Well, it's not solvent. It's just deficit spending to keep them going.
Well, but the real problem is not that. We got to be honest about that. I mean, people don't realize that 82% of the budget isn't even discretionary. Only 18% of the federal budget is under the purview of the president. He can decide where money's spent for the Coast Guard, for the Defense Department, for Federal Aviation Administration, for all those things. 18%. So 18 cents of every dollar. So even if you cut the entire federal government's operating capability, you'd still spend 82% of the money on benefits. And that's because Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, and that's just devastating. Social Security should have been carved out and put into a separate fund that never touches the government's hand. Never touched the government's hand. If that had been done, Social Security would be sound today. It would be in the black, and the government would not be anywhere near as large as it is, and we would not have a $38 trillion deficit. But the politicians can't resist a fat pig that they can pork and steal from. And that's what's been going on for decades. That's the bottom line here.
Absolutely. Well, I was at a dinner a couple months ago with a Congressman Van Hillary of Tennessee. He had served like 3 or 4 terms. He term limited himself. Now he's running again. He's been asked to run again. He's going to try to do a few more terms. But he was talking about most people go there and their long-term goal is to serve 20+ years and move up to in leadership, the chairmanships, all these powerful positions, because it's about the money behind the scenes. It's about all these different things and the incentives. It's not about really serving other people. And that's how we've got to this point is, people that are going there for the wrong reasons, not to serve the individuals that elect them, but to serve their own special interest.
Well, and that's, of course, the 3 lines I used in my campaign. I use to this day. It's about self-aggrandizement, self-enrichment, and craving political power. The self-aggrandizement is, I'm special. Look at me. Fox wants to talk to me. I'll go talk to Fox. I'll go talk to MSNBC and become famous. Everybody knows my name. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Jazzy Crockett, that's the self-aggrandizement. The self-enrichment, of course, is the insider trading that people like Nancy Pelosi engage in and suddenly go from having no money to having $176 million fortune. And then, of course, the craving political power is this nonsense that we'll just vote as our party tells us to vote, regardless of whether it's good for the nation or not.
Right. And he told me, he said, a lot of those people, he said that you think about how much money they make, they probably couldn't make that, outside of, government or special, like family connections and things like that. They would actually have to work for a living. And most of these people can't do that. And that's why they'll sell everything to include their own mother in a lot of cases, for $1 or for whatever.
Indeed, folks. But let's remind folks about Gate City Monuments. If you live in the Nashua, New Hampshire area, you should check into Gate City Monuments if you need to honor your family member who's passed on. But aside from Gate City Monuments, it's time to remind folks that you're listening to the Common Sense Conservatives on WSMN out of Nashua, New Hampshire. This is on 95.3 FM and 1590 AM every Wednesday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Heck, if it's Christmas Day, we're here. maybe our loved ones aren't happy, but we're definitely here for even those days. So maybe this year, if it's on Christmas, we might not be there. But anyway, folks, you can catch us every Wednesday night right here. And as Todd likes to say, on the interwebs, you can find it on the Facebook and many folks, I think, and also YouTube. A lot of my audience tunes in for this. I think that some of John's audience comes in as well. But you can join us every Wednesday night. We have cogent, lucid, insightful conversations about politics in the United States primary, but we do delve overseas a little bit. Bring in some of my overseas experience. We talk about the trucking industry every now and then because John's got background in that. And Todd, of course, has got firsthand experience working at the White House with some of the most important, or at least most powerful political figures on the planet. So we bring all that together and hopefully bring you something insightful and enjoyable that you can take to get through the week. Because it is, after all, hump day, midweek. In South Africa and Afrikaans, they call it Little Saturday.
Little Saturday, okay.
Yeah, so Klein Zaterdag, so Little Saturday. But yeah, instead of saying hump, they say Little Saturday. But anyway, so here we are on Little Saturday, Wednesday night.
I like that. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And it is pretty cool how they do that. So, John, I don't know if you're keeping track of Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, that's first on my list every day. I check on her status.
But, primary A-lister right there. I love her.
She's just such an amazing, she's such a brilliant mind. Yeah.
Did she move to the land of her people or something?
Well, she moved to Ireland. I don't know if it's her people, but she moved to Ireland.
Well, she is Irish, I think, but awful lefty too there. So
just more proof that Ireland is collapsing around us. But she's losing her mind over Donald Trump. She has got, look, I heard, I've talked about this before, and I think we've talked about it before, but apparently Trump derangement syndrome is no joke, actually a medical affliction that psychologists are talking about. Trump derangement syndrome.
We interviewed a lady, a psychologist. Remember that, Carol?
Right.
Carol
It's been a while back.
I think I was on the road then.
No, you were.
No, I think he was on the road. I think
Chris was the one doing most of the interviewing.
Was he?
Oh my. Okay. Well, apparently I've got some derangement syndrome because I don't remember that.
It's pretty good having her on. Yeah.
It's a real affliction. I mean, it's being talked about. I mean, these people are just psychotic, and she's one of them. I mean, what a wackadoodle. Thank goodness she's in Ireland. I mean, she can't do any harm.
She's like the queen of Trump derangement syndrome. Did she was Trump derangement syndrome before he even became for president?
I thought Kathy Griffin was the queen of
no. Rosie O'Donnell had the head start on everybody. If you remember, it was before he even was president. She used to fight.
Yeah, they've had a few going back for many years, though.
Yeah.
Back whenever Trump was just primarily doing entertainment stuff. Yeah.
Yep. She hated him then.
Yeah.
Because he tells a better joke than she does.
Oh yeah. And she thinks she's funny. She's not funny at all.
She's never funny.
She's played a couple of supporting roles that were okay. I'll give her that, but I don't get it how she's failed upwards to be where she's at. I don't understand.
The only movie I can even remember her ever being in was some bizarre comedy with sadomasochism. It was ridiculous.
A League of Their Own. She played in that. Of course, she was an ensemble.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But
there's no crying in baseball.
But she was just basically, played a little comedic relief every so often. But she wasn't a main character in that, as far as I remember.
You trying to say she's so bad she was basically an extra?
No. But I'm saying Gina Davis, and I think there was another actress that was like the main. Tom Hanks.
Madonna was in it, wasn't she?
I think she was, and of course Madonna wasn't even. She played a bit part, a role or whatever, but it was more of an ensemble cast with a couple people that were like the leads.
Tom Hanks, I think, was the coach or something like that.
He was the coach. Yeah. Jimmy Doyle, I think it was his name, right?
Yeah, I didn't. I've never watched the movie, but I mean, there's no crying in baseball. I love that. It's one of the greatest lines ever. You can't handle the truth from Colonel Jessup. That's classic. Yeah. And then, of course, the best one ever. Seeing how this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world. One shot can blow your head clean off. Well, do you feel? And I plumb forgotten how many rounds I fired.
You got to ask yourself too. You feel lucky.
Lucky. Do you punk?
Yeah, I love it.
I almost put that on last night just so I can watch that scene. I don't like the rest of the movie because the villain is a weirdo and it's kind of weird.
Oh
yeah, but I love that opening sequence when he's in the cafe.
And I think he did fire 5, and it was on an actual live round, and then he uncocked it, and then whenever he cocked it back and pulled, it would have been on an empty chamber or a clean chamber.
Yeah, but that was those are great lines in movies, man. Yeah, that one's just awesome. I'll never forget that. And then anyway, so now we get back to the social content of the program, talking about movies in Hollywood. But
I gotta go back to that real quick. That was whenever you had like the big actor You didn't have to be a huge rock type character, bodybuilder, Conan or something. It could be somebody that just looks like Clint Eastwood, tall and just had the jawline, had the presence. That was your leading man. That was your tough guy.
You go back and watch 1960s Batman series. You go, oh wow, we looked up
right?
to this. What
No,
was
but
that?
the 80s became like the archetypal was the steroid muscle bound guy,
Stallone,
right?
Schwarzenegger. Yeah.
But it's so funny. It's like you go to any, like say, SEAL Team 6, Delta Force or whatever. Those are the best of the best operators, SAS. They're not like these muscle bound huge guys because you can't really do much with muscles like that. I'm sorry.
You did have Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris back in the 70s.
Right.
They weren't like The Rock, but they were fit.
But he was talking about the 80s, and as we kind of moved that way in the 80s, and then it just continued on. I mean, look at Reacher. The Reacher looks like a tree trunk.
Right. But real special operators are very, very lean. They got muscle, but they're very lean. They can run for days, and then they can beat the hell out of you all night. You know what I'm saying? But they don't have to be this huge opposing figure.
Yeah, they got core strength.
I mean, that energy, you're going to deplete your energy pretty quick being that big.
You look at Tom Cruise played Reacher in the movies, and it was the right. I mean, he's a slight guy. I mean that's believable, and I enjoy the first season of Reacher, the series it's on, and with the guy's like a tree trunk. There's not much you can do with that. You can't even move your arms because your biceps, and your pecs are here, and you can't swing. But it's just that's not the real world. That's not how people are. That's the world of it's a WWF. That's what that is.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've had to run with some big guys in the Army, and it's like they get winded pretty quick, and you're like, dude, we still got miles to go here.
Yeah, he's walking.
And like these guys are benching, 400 some pounds, but like whenever it's time to run, they're done. That's it.
I saw one guy on social media. He was a big bodybuilder, but he was flexible and he could jump and do the kicks and stuff, martial arts, but he didn't do it with any kind of speed. It's like you said, it slows you down. He was good, absolutely. But no speed involved at all.
Yep.
No, it's anyway, get away from the Hollywood stuff for a minute, even though that's
sorry. Yeah.
No. I just because I run the risk of spending the next 20 minutes talking about that, so we get away from that because it's easy. It's kind of fun to do that. We're not an entertainment program, although we do some entertainment here. But Hollywood's it's kind of interesting. It isn't interesting anymore. It's kind
I do have to bring up one quote from the movies.
Okay, go ahead.
Diplomatic immunity. I have the voice for it right now. Sorry, I have the voice for it.
Yeah, that was great. That was fantastic. Yeah. Now that, of course, is from Lethal Weapon 2, which is the first one I saw. Lethal Weapon 2 is incredible. I really, that's good stuff. Since we haven't got away from that, I actually watched a series and binge watched it. That's really creepy, but not bad. 17 Academy Award nominations. But what does that mean? People give out Nobel Peace Prizes to terrorists. So what's an Academy Award? Fallout. Wow. Whew, man, that's a creepy series, but it's actually entertaining.
Yeah. Very entertaining. They've got another season coming out. We've got renewed, right?
It did. Did you watch it? I mean, it's crazy.
I've seen bits and pieces. I haven't sat and just watched it, but I have seen some bits and pieces. I've seen some reviews, so it does pique my interest for sure.
Is this on Netflix? Futuristic movie, dystopian?
Yeah.
I think I've seen the first season. You're right. It was really
I love the nuke strike over LA. That's kind of cool. Have you seen that?
I must have slept because I woke up. It was up. I was watching Playdate on Netflix and drifted off. That's what the guy plays Reacher, along with Kevin James.
Oh, I'm binge watching the Netflix Diplomat at the moment. I'm like, this is so stupid, but it's so entertaining though. It's so entertaining.
Well, what's that one with what's her name? Veep. I couldn't bring myself to watch that.
Oh, so that was so funny because it's like they're not trying to make Democrats or Republicans look bad or whatever. Everybody looks bad in that. I love it. Yeah, it's funny.
Well, after trying to stomach watching The West Wing, I just really couldn't.
This is certainly not. It's they make fun of themselves. It's like they make fun of the Democrat Party and Republicans just the same. I think you would actually like it. It's just comedy, pure comedy.
Well, I liked her as Elaine on Seinfeld. Especially her dance moves.
The little kicks. Yeah.
Gosh.
Oh. You want me to get it started? I'll get it started.
Yeah. No.
Elaine.
Oh my goodness. That show about nothing was so funny. It's still relevant today. You still laugh at the stuff today. I like, I had to pee. I have a condition, uromyositis.
My brother, he has it. He's running around right now, probably peeing everywhere. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Where's your pin? Why aren't you wearing the pin?
Who will not wear the ribbon? I
the
love it.
ribbon, the ribbon, the ribbon.
The
Yeah, the
AIDS
ribbon.
ribbon. Yeah.
Where's
I
your
don't know
AIDS
how.
ribbon?
I don't know
Yeah.
how you guys can talk about Seinfeld and not talk about the soup
And
Nazi.
those are the guys that
Of
stole
course.
the armoire in like in that
Yeah.
other episode.
Yeah. Yeah, the two gay guys. Where's your ribbon? Why is he's not wearing the ribbon? Then they beat him up. Typical leftist. Yeah,
Right.
we're all we're friendly, cuddly. We love everybody. It's a big tent. He's not wearing the ribbon. Let's beat the crap out of him.
You know, it's like, oh, hey, I'm Kramer. I'm a multimillionaire. I came and donated $1 million. Sorry, I'm not wearing the ribbon. Then they beat the hell out of you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Thanks
Yeah.
for the $1 million, though, Kramer. But you didn't wear the ribbon, so you're not as virtuous. You got to signal the virtuosity, right?
Well, because it's all about show for Democrats.
Sure, yeah.
It's not about
the
substance.
reality. Yeah.
Not about substance, just about show. Yeah. So yeah, you're right, John. We can't have to mention the soup Nazi, lobster bisque. No soup for you. The Democrats were the soup Nazis. No food stamps for you. 43-day shutdown. No food stamps for you.
Oh, snap.
Please, sir, more soup, sir. No soup for you. Move along. Anyway, all right. We did promise to get away from that, so let's get back to politics. All right. So I think people need to be cognizant of this now as we head into Thanksgiving. Aviation is back. Flight cancellations are over just in time for the holiday. But beyond that, folks, don't get too excited because January 30th is when this resolution runs out. And if we don't have another continuing resolution or a budget, which seems unlikely by January 30th, we're going to go through the shutdown thing all over again. It's going to come, Todd, January 30th. On 31st, we're going to be in trouble.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, you got the holidays. And of course, is Congress going to be working on this over Christmas and all that? Probably not. You know, so they need to tie it up before they gavel out of session coming into the new year or the holidays.
I think so. John, what do you think? Do you think they'll be able to reach something because they're going to be gone all of December, so they got January.
Yeah, we go through that one time during the Clinton administration. It was Christmas season, and they had to shut down because it was the holidays. And I don't know, guys. I think it's so much nonsense from Congress. They're required to have a budget every year by April 15th. Ironically, the same date you're required to file. But yeah, they're supposed to have a budget in place. It should be a balanced budget, but Congress drops the ball. I mean, this is what we're electing these days as people that you can't do their jobs, but fault you if you're not following their laws. You know what I mean? They don't follow their own. It's a law. That's a law they passed and put on themselves many years ago that they have to have a budget by April 15th. And they're not doing it. They're doing these continuing resolutions time and time again. And it's always pushing up to the 11th hour on them. And they're holding the American people a hostage. And I think we need to start thinking about this next year because next year is an election year. And if this is how they're going to do it, maybe we need to start putting some fresh blood in there.
100%.
Well, we always talk about fresh blood, but the power of incumbency is difficult to overcome.
It is, but at some point in time, man, people need to start thinking about making a point of issue. You know, set the example at some point in time. Make it part of the campaign next year. People out there listening right now, you need to get out there and start knocking on their doors and make them talk about this next year. When you go to those little town hall meetings or when they're having their little discussions, you know, you need to bring it up to them. You know, how about this balanced budget? At some point in time, you're going to do your job or are you just going to play games? Because we, the people, deserve better.
Yeah. And if somebody's looking to be reelected, look who's running against them. Maybe that person who's not in power, doesn't have the power of the incumbency, is probably maybe a better candidate. Yeah, give them a shot. Listen to what they have to say. Talk to them. Ask them some questions, and maybe find a better candidate.
I think part of our problem as a society is we elect people and we put them into DC and we just throw them to the wolves. And what I mean by that is we allow them to be subject to their party. We allow them to be subject to big money donors and lobbyists. We don't stay on their heels. We don't stay with them. We don't, of course not, in DC. We just elect them, then throw them there and expect them to give us their best. And so we're not doing our due diligence. We're not meeting them at them town halls. We're not putting them on the spot in the public eye while the cameras are rolling. And that's what we need to start doing.
Yeah, no, 100%. I won't disagree with that. Do you guys see that Texas, a federal judge has overruled Texas bill that made the 10 Commandments part of what goes in school? They've said it's unconstitutional because it violates the Establishment Clause. of the U.S. Constitution. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that's
No,
out there right now. Federal Judge Orlando Garcia ruled that Texas's Senate Bill 10 is in violation of the Establishment Clause of the Constitution, which prevents the United States government from establishing or expressing favoritism towards a single religion. So there you go.
Yeah,
Amy
well,
Bean Wilner, the plaintiff in the case, is relieved. She said, "I'm relieved that the result today is ruling my children, who are among a small number of Jewish children at their schools, will no longer be continually subjected to religious displays. The government has no business interfering with parental decisions about matters of faith."
Yeah, man, I don't know if that Ten Commandments necessarily is like promoting one specific religion necessarily, right? I mean, it says no other God before me, but it doesn't say I am Christian God. You know, it says I'm God. I created everything, basically. You know, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
I
think
don't
this
know.
one's a little sticky because the Establishment
Yeah.
Clause, there's no Establishment Clause. They're calling it that, but Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion.
And that's not
Which,
making a law. That's not Congress isn't
Well,
making a
that's
law in that
Congress. Yeah,
respect.
right?
exactly.
That
That's a
is
local school district allowing 10 commandments in. That's
This,
what
this is
making
it's
a
a
what
law.
state. It's a
this is
state.
what activist judges do, though.
Oh, of course.
I don't
Congress is
know,
not.
man.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think maybe we should just try not to intermix religion because we have diversity in religions in this country. And I really honestly think maybe we should stop trying to. I know people are trying to compensate because we're seeing, and I heard it on Dana LaRoche's show as it was playing when I was coming into the studio. There was a congressman out in Texas talking about the influx of Muslim the infiltration of Muslim was more to the tune of what he was saying it. And I'm inclined to agree with this. We're being we were talking about some of this here with our guest earlier. We're being infiltrated.
Yeah.
As a
Or
nation.
being
People aren't coming here to assimilate with us. They're coming here to infiltrate and sway our politics. And we've seen a lot with Palestinians here in the last couple of years.
colonize.
Absolutely.
Yes,
You know,
it's
well,
colonization.
right here in Kingsport, where I live, Northeast Tennessee, you know, you go out to say Target or somewhere like that, and you're seeing more and more people who would never live in this area that are here, not assimilating, you know, wearing the burqa and all this stuff, not at all associate with anybody else. They're over here in their own little clique, community, whatever. And it's like, yeah, it's dangerous in my opinion, because no one's assimilating. You're creating your own little community, and it could be dangerous. Because think about it, you oppress people in your own countries. Now you're coming here and doing it in a microcosm.
There's evidence. There's people pointing fingers saying that there are actually communities of people practicing Sharia law in the United States.
Sure,
you can't have Sharia law when you have a republic.
Well, that's what's happening in the United Kingdom. There are no-go zones in East London where the police don't even go, and the people implement Sharia law on non-Muslims. It's insane. I mean, this isn't people coming to our countries to make it better. These are people coming here to force us to adopt to their caliphate. That's what they want. That's what they want. And look, it's not all Muslims. Certainly not the case, but it's enough people here, and people get whipped up in a fervor. I mean, Dearborn, Michigan is no longer a majority, traditional American place. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but I know you know that CNN flew me down to Alabama back in July to interview me as part of a documentary in advance of the G20 summit in South Africa. Well, I think I might have mentioned here, but I definitely mentioned to my audience that I expected I would not make it into the documentary. I would be on the cutting room floor, because when the journalist, who's an Irishman, Donnie O'Sullivan, asked me questions, he ignored what I had to say and kept trying to pin me down on saying something bad about Trump. And like, where does Trump get the authority? I said, well, the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1980. Yeah, but these people aren't refugees. Oh, but they are. They fit the definition, a genuine fear of persecution based on race, religion, culture, or being part of a specific political or social group. And then he didn't like that. And he said, yeah, but it's why does Trump let farmers and white Afrikaners come over? I said, well, nobody batted an eye when 300,000 white Ukrainians came over here. So what's the problem with a few thousand white South Africans coming here? What's the distinction? Yeah, but apartheid. Well, these people aren't part of apartheid. Apartheid for most of them was before they were even born. But yeah, and so I just wouldn't bite. I wouldn't, he kept coming with the stuff, and he's like, yeah. And I said, look, I mean, he's like, but only white people are coming here. I said, no, they're not. And so what if it was only white people? What's the problem? That's a drop in the bucket. We let 100,000 people come to this country, people come from all over the world every year. And then what they did is they took this documentary, I saw it, and he tried to turn it to the white replacement theory. And he went to some, whites only community in Arkansas. It has nothing to do with South Africa. And it's just a hate Trump thing. It's just, it's insane what these people do. And, before the thing was aired, and I found out because I contacted the producer and said, hey, any update? Is it going to air? He said, yeah, it'll be airing this coming weekend. He said, unfortunately, Donnie didn't include you in the documentary, cut you out. And I wrote back and I said, well, I'll be honest with you. I didn't expect him to put me there because he wanted me to say something. And I simply told the truth, which doesn't fit the narrative. He goes, yeah, it's unfortunate. I said, not at all. I'm happy not to be associated with because this is not going to go over very well.
Right. Right.
But people are like, why did you do it? You know what CNN is. I said, well, let me explain things to you.
Right.
Free flight to Alabama.
Sure.
Free lodging. All I paid for was my rental car. I got to interview South African refugees on the ground in the States, people whom I've helped to explain the situation, and they got over here. So I got some broadcast material out of it. I got a free trip down there. I also took care of some VFW business while I was down there.
Oh, there you go.
And
Cool.
I had not been to Birmingham, Alabama since I was a toddler. So, it was, on CNN's dime. And also, here's the most important piece. I know the truth about the documentary. CNN told me they wanted me to be interviewed because they're doing a documentary about the state of South Africa, about its economy, about politics, what's going on over there. Also, they wanted to touch on refugees, but that's what it was about. The title is Misinformation, White Genocide.
Right.
That's the title.
God,
And so in this, they interviewed. So I know how they lied to get people into the documentary.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
And I also know, and so this is the sour grapes. I got a free trip. Hey, thank you. I even thank CNN in my analysis, but I also call them out. But in this, the foreign minister, Ronald Lamola, at a time when South Africa needs to be working with the U.S. to get rid of the 30% tariffs, sits there and Donnie O'Sullivan asked him if he believes that Donald Trump is a white supremacist. And he said, yeah, I believe he's a white supremacist, essentially. That did not go over well. So now Trump, when he's asked a question a couple of days later, yesterday in the White House, when the crown prince for Saudi Arabia was there, and someone asked him a question about Saudi, he said, I'm not going to South Africa. I'm not going to support a country whose policies are about exterminating people. Whoa, exterminating. Oh, my goodness. Now the South African government is orking.
Well, honestly, Chris, telling the truth, Billy brought on somebody from South Africa who just came over as a refugee, somebody you met in Idaho. And we spoke with him last night, and I asked him about it. I says, aren't black people persecuted too? And he goes, well, no, they get robbed too. Yeah. And, the average may be 5 black people get robbed on their farms and 1 white person. But the problem is they're not torturing the black people they rob.
Well, they're not only not torturing, they're not murdering them, they're not gang raping them, they're not torching their houses, they just rob them. Now,
torturing men, all that stuff, yeah. But in other words, I don't want to go into details, but yeah, because they do some horrible, horrible things. If you get into the details of what they do to these people, it's disgusting, it's evil. And so I asked him, I said, why? I mean, was this related to apartheid? And he says, well, no, it's systemic. It's coming from the top. Leaders and stuff are encouraging this behavior.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
This is the truth, guys. This is what's happening in South Africa. It's leaders. It's no different than when our left over here is praising BLM, who's riding in the streets and calling them peaceful protesters.
Mostly peaceful, right?
So these people,
I mean, it's worse because they're encouraging the death and torture of people just because of their skin color.
So these people lie. In the White House, in the Oval Office, we saw President Ramaphosa lie to President Trump on the issue of land expropriation. We're not expropriating land. Okay, well, that's why did you just pass an unconstitutional act called the Expropriation Without Compensation Law? Why do you need that law if you're not going to expropriate land? Well, we need to take land of public interest. You already have expropriation guaranteed under the Constitution, but it says, just like eminent domain in America, you must have fair and equitable compensation, and you must have the approval of the seller and the buyer. So here's what they say. This is why they lie to president. You have to take them at their own word, what they actually say. So in 2018, Ramaphosa announced that they were going to go after, have a constitutional amendment to change expropriation, but that failed, barely. And Section 25 did not change in the Constitution. So what they did in December 2021, then the Justice Minister, now the Foreign Minister, Ronald Lamola, said changing the Constitution was just one instrument we could have used. The matter is now ended. We will now use our simple majority to pass laws that will allow for expropriation without compensation. Yet they lied to the president, said they have no interest in taking property without compensation. But going back here in 2021, the Justice Minister actually said that's what we'll do. And by the way, that's in violation of their Constitution. And then in January 2022, Ramaphosa said the ANC will implement its resolution on the expropriation land without compensation, despite the refusal of other parties in parliament. So they passed a simple law which violates the Constitution. And it goes on and on and on. So in here, the deputy president in 2024 said that it may well be that you have issues with the wording thereof, but the intention is to achieve exactly that we need to expropriate land without compensation where applicable. And he continued, We use the words in the act that we should expropriate land if it's in the public interest. The issue of nil compensation, I'll look at it, but my sense is nil compensation is that you don't pay. That's exactly right. Exactly right. So, and then in August of this year, Cyril Ramaphosa praised Zimbabwe's illegal theft of land and unconstitutional theft of land in the early 2000s, saying he believes South Africa and the entire region should take a leaf from Zimbabwe's agricultural model, which led to mass starvation in Zimbabwe. These are who these people are. They're thieves, and they're doing it with the law, just like the National Party did during apartheid. So you just have to take these people at their word. When they tell you they're going to do something, believe them, because they're going to do it. But when they come to the Oval Office and lie to the President of the United States, and then the media pretends that they were ambushed, no. They asked for the meeting. They requested it. Trump gave it to them on short notice. They came to America. And then the media forget this. Cyril Ramaphosa was 43 minutes late. He made the President of the United States wait 43 minutes. Oh, my goodness. You knew it wasn't going to go well when that happened. And then he gets in there and he lies to the President. They show these crosses that were out there and put on to mark and commemorate white farmers and their families who were murdered in South Africa.
Didn't Trump have videos ready to go?
He did. He misspoke. He said these are burial mounds. They're obviously not burial mounds. I mean, look, what Trump says and what he does aren't always the same thing. The executive order governing this isn't anywhere near the rhetoric he says. But you know, so he said mounds, but it's actually these markers. And anyway, it's just it's these people. It's insane. They lie and they get away with it, and the media lets them get away with it. So the media, instead of focusing on the fact that Ramaphosa lied, because Ramaphosa turned to Trump when they showed this cross the video, goes, Mr. President, do they tell you where this is? I've never seen this. At the end of that, I mean, I live 6,000 miles away, and I watched the footage unfold on the state broadcaster. At the end of it, when they had a banner across Rhodes saying, begging the president to take action to stop farm murders. He lies. He lied to the president of the United States Oval Office, and Trump has had enough of it. So yesterday he said, I can't support a country whose policies are exterminating people. I'm like, whoa.
That's right. That's right.
That was huge. So, and they've also been insulting him all year. And the thing that goes back to what I said earlier, if you attack Trump personally, forget about it. You're not going to get anywhere. You cannot recover from that. Look, you don't have to like Trump, but show him some respect and you'll go a long way. You'll get what you want. You know, you don't even have to stroke his ego. You can, but you don't have to. But if you just come out and attack Trump, it doesn't matter whether you're right or not. He will grind you into dust. He will pulverize you. And that's what's going to happen to South Africa because of their arrogance. I mean, this week on CNN, their foreign minister said Trump is a white supremacist. Earlier this year, they persona non grata and kicked the ambassador of South Africa out after he went in a Zoom session and called America racist and that Donald Trump was the leader of a global white supremacist movement. He was kicked out of the country. So that's two senior leaders of the party. It's not going to go well for South Africa, folks.
No, it's not.
Why is this not an issue within the United Nations when they talk about human rights and stuff?
Because the world's woke and because the victims are white and the world is racist against white people.
There we go. That's what I was going to say. That's it.
But the point is they don't do their job, right? They don't hold people accountable as they're supposed to. But
I don't know why people hate white people. We got short change, man. We get skin cancer rates astronomically higher than anybody else because we lack sufficient skin pigmentation. Because our ancestors got out of Africa because it was too darn hot and they went north and less sun and got lighter and lighter, man. I mean, it's a ripoff. I mean, we got cheated on skin pigmentation. Leave us alone. Quit picking on us, man.
Plus, we had to live where it's cold. Jeez, forget that.
Exactly. We had to adapt and overcome. These other people stayed in the warm zones. They're fine.
The man from the South.
Anyway, so that's what's going on. So that's come. We're close to wrapping up here for this weekend, folks, on the Common Sense Conservatives. Hope that you enjoyed the program tonight. I'll go around the horn. Any last quick thoughts from Todd and John? Todd, you got anything for us before we wrap up?
No, that was great. Yeah, our guest last week asked for your contact info. If I could pass that along, that's cool.
Absolutely. My name is John Grosvenor. I live in Nashua, New Hampshire. My phone number is 555-772-3944.
All right.
No, you can pass it along. John, you got anything to wrap it up? We're just about done.
Oh, well, Mickey Goodlander is encouraging, along with other Democrats, that members of the military should ignore Trump's orders. Last time I checked, guys, Maggie Goodlander, by the way, is District 2 U.S. House Representative here in New Hampshire.
And that's what's going on in New Hampshire, right there.
Yeah, so she's encouraging people to get themselves court-martialed and
Oh, that's where she's okay. I saw that. Look, this person is a criminal. She needs to be dealt with. She's inciting it better. She's inciting an insurrection, just like that idiot out there in Portland. Anyway. These people are dangerous. All right, that's going to do it, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit your like buttons. Be sure to tune in every week and whatever social media you're watching, and catch us right here on terrestrial radio, WSMN, the Common Sense Conservatives. From Central Pennsylvania, for my co-host John and Todd, this is Chris saying so long.